how are you? It's Dr. Moso. Today we want to learn about the roles that were played by songs during the liberation struggle. The Africans, the nationalists, the people in Zimbabwe. We see that they took their arms, they fought against the whites during the second Achimurenda. So we specifically want to talk about the role that was played by songs, the role that was played by Mujibas, who were the Mujibas, the role that was played by Chimbwidos, who were the Chimbwidos during the liberation struggle, the role that was played by women, who were women during the liberation struggle, the role that was played by peasants, who were the peasants during the liberation struggle, the role that was played by our guerrillas, the soldiers who took up their arms, who fought against the whites. What role did they play during the liberation struggle? And also, the role that was played by the frontline states. These were the outside countries who also assisted in making sure that Zimbabwe was going to be liberated. On 18 April 1980, people were singing, Zimbabwe is now liberated. So let's start with the songs, the role that was played by songs during the liberation struggle. So songs, we see that they played an important part during the liberation struggle. They educated the masses on the aims of the liberation. So the masses, they were educated on the role of the liberation struggle. So that was revealed through the songs that were sung during that particular period of our time. We also see that the songs gave a personal encouragement. The songs also gave self-motivation. The songs also gave self-dedication to the liberation struggle. You remember the song which was sung, Amaina Baba, Musandiche, Kananda, Kananda, Neo, Dinida, dedication. They were dedicated to fight the whites, to fight the colonialists. So we are seeing songs now being sung so that these people who were fighting, they were now saying, we are dedicated. We are dedicating ourselves. We have sacrificed ourselves to fight against the colonialists. Again, these songs, they were sung so that they could remind the people of the good behavior of our soldiers, the good behavior of our guerrillas. So that is why they could sing songs telling people that our guerrillas, they were well disciplined, our guerrillas, they were fighting to do away with the repression of the whites, repression of the colonialists in our country, which was called Rhodesia by then, but eventually in 1980, which was now called Zimbabwe. We also see that songs, they were also sung to also educate the masses on the need that the soldiers wanted, so that this liberation struggle was going to be a success. These songs, they were also sung as a way of communication. They were done so that people could communicate on the happenings of the wars. And they also sang to remind people of the punishment that was going to be given to the sellouts. If you were a sellout, kana waive mutengesi, songs they were sung reminding you that you were going to be killed, you're going to be eliminated. Why? Because you were doing things which were against the success of the liberation struggle. Again, they also sang so that they could educate the Africans on the need, on the reasons why the soldiers had to take up their arms and why they eventually participated in the war. So we are seeing that songs played an important part. They were done so that people could know so many things about the liberation struggle. Not forgetting that songs were also sung as a way of entertaining themselves. You see that when songs were sung during Pumbes now, people were starting to dance now. People educating themselves. That on its own, it was a way of reducing what? Stress. So songs were very important during the liberation struggle. Let's go to the Mujibas. Who were the Mujibas? The Mujibas, they were informers. They had to inform the soldiers about what had taken place in their areas. These also played an important part in the sense that they had to carry weapons for the guerrillas. They were supposed to carry weapons for the guerrillas. They also organized meetings. They also drew up support, moral support. They also organized pumpers. They were eventually recruited to become guerrillas. They were eventually recruited to become soldiers later on in life. So these were young boys. We're talking about young boys. The role that was played by the Mujibas, the young boys during the liberation struggle, they were so important during that particular period of time. Let's go on and talk about the Chimbuidos. Who were the Chimbuidos? We're talking about the young girls. They cooked food for the soldiers, the guerrillas. They also entertained the guerrillas. How entertaining? We see that they provided that entertainment that providing sex to the liberation fighters, to the guerrillas. They also sang, singing during the Apumbes. They also danced, dancing during the liberation, during the Pumbes that were conducted. So they also acted as informers, and we also see that they washed clothes for the guerrillas. So the Chimbidos played an important part during this particular period of time. The women, the role that was played by Chimbidos, young girls and women were almost similar. They acted as informers, they cooked, they washed, they provided shelter for the guerrillas, etc. So the role that was played by women and Chimbidos were almost similar. Let's go to the peasants. The peasants, they played an important part. They fed the gorillas. They provided food. They had to grow crops for the gorillas. They provided clothing for the gorillas. They provided food for the gorillas. They provided shelter for the gorillas. They gave the gorillas a moral support during the liberation struggle. They were eventually also recruited to become guerrillas, and we also see that these peasants, they also acted as informers. They provided information on what was taking place in the liberation struggle. Let's talk about our guerrillas, the soldiers, those people who spearheaded the success of our armed struggle, those people who fought against the whites. They were fighters. They had to fight against the whites. They had to fight against the regime, the colonial regime. They also educated the masses on the need for the freedom of the country. Why the people were supposed to be freed, why people were supposed to be independent from the colonial regime. They also protected the peasants. So the guerrillas, they played an important part during the liberation struggle. You remember people like Tongo Gara, people like Chitepo, people like Jason Ziapapa Amoyo. So many of our guerrillas died during this particular period of time. So many of our soldiers, they are buried at the National Heroes Acre. Some are still in the bushes. Some also see that they were buried at different National Heroes Acres that we have in our country, Zimbabwe. We also got songs that were sung dedicating, showing the masses, showing the people the important role that was played by these guerrillas during the liberation struggle. Our country eventually attained its independence in 1980. Why? It was because of these gallant sons and daughters who had to fight against the whites. They dedicated themselves, they sacrificed their lives so that we could become independent, and we became independent in April 1980. Let's now talk about the frontline states. These we see that they were outside countries here in Southern Africa and also in other parts of the world. We are talking about Zambia. We are talking also about Tanzania, playing an important part during the liberation struggle. We are talking about Mozambique, providing moral and financial support for our guerrillas. They provided training bases. They provided these people with uniforms. They provided them with the radio stations so that the information about the liberation struggle it was going to spread and eventually fight against what the colonial regime. The frontline states now, you also talk about Cuba, Yugoslavia playing an important part during this particular period of time, especially the Eastern European countries that are in Europe. They played an important part in educating, providing training to our guerrillas. So we are seeing that the frontline states played an important part during the liberation struggle. So we've looked on different roles that were played by these during the liberation struggle of Zimbabwe. Thank you so much. It's Dr. Moso.